It was just after 11:30 p.m. in Washington, D.C. The Capitol building stood still, mostly empty, echoing only the distant footsteps of President Donald Trump as he strolled down a quiet corridor. A single Secret Service agent walked silently behind him. Trump had stayed late for a confidential briefing, but something unexpected caught his attention. Near the Roosevelt Room, he noticed a man, probably in his mid-60s, scrubbing the marble floors. The man wore a faded blue uniform with a name, badge that read Ernest. His movements were slow and deliberate, and his quiet humming drifted through the corridor like a memory. There was something about him, the way he worked, the look in his eyes, that felt different. This wasn't just a janitor doing a late shift. This was someone who carried history in his silence. "Long night?" Trump asked, stepping closer. Ernest looked up, slightly startled but calm. "Yes, sir. Floors don't clean themselves." Trump chuckled. "You always work this late?" "Every night. Been doing it for 35 years, Ernest replied. The president tilted his head. "Why not retire?" Ernest paused, shrugged, and said something that stuck with Trump. "Some people work for money, some for purpose, and some for a promise." Trump didn't press further, but as he walked away, that one word lingered. Promise. What kind of promise kept a man cleaning marble floors at midnight, decades past retirement? The next morning, Trump sat at his desk but couldn't shake the image of Ernest. He called in one of his aides, Sarah. "Can you look into one of the Capitol janitors? For me? Name's Ernest. He works nights. Something about him." He trailed off. Sarah returned hours later with a slim file. Ernest Miller, 66 years old. Widowed. No children listed. He's worked here since 1988. Never missed a day. Never requested retirement. Quiet man. Keeps to himself. Trump flipped through the file. A single black and white photo was stapled to the corner. Ernest looked younger, but the same deep, thoughtful eyes stared back. "Strange," Trump muttered. "No retirement plan?" "Turned it down," Sarah replied. "Some staff say he talks to the walls at night, like he's having a conversation with someone who isn't there." The thought gave Trump chills. That night he returned to the same hallway. Ernest was there, mopping again, humming that same tune. "You're back at it again, huh?" Trump said. Ernest smiled. "Work never ends, sir." "You mentioned a promise. Mind if I ask what kind?" Ernest paused, his mop stopping mid-swipe. "That's not something I usually share." "I've got time," Trump said gently. Ernest looked around the empty hall, then leaned on the handle of his mop. "It started over 30 years ago, with a little girl, a locket, and a vow I made in a hospital room." Trump straightened. "I'm listening." "Her name was Mariah, my daughter. She was 10 when they told us it was leukemia," Ernest began, his voice soft. "She used to draw stars and flags and talk about working in this very building someday, maybe even becoming president." He chuckled, the kind of laugh that holds both joy and pain. "We'd sit outside the Capitol and dream, but those dreams, they changed. 2 months later, she was gone." Trump lowered his eyes. "I'm sorry." "Before she passed, she asked me to promise her something," Ernest said. "She said, 'Daddy, make the Capitol shine. Make it beautiful. Let people see how special America is.'" From his pocket, Ernest pulled a small gold locket. Inside was a faded photo of a beaming little girl. I cleaned these halls for her. Every mop stroke, every polished tile, it's for Mariah. I gave her my word." Trump was speechless. Ernest continued. "She's still here in a way. When I mop, I imagine her skipping down these halls, smiling." Trump felt something shift inside him. In all his years, meetings, boardrooms, rallies, he had never encountered a devotion so pure. "You've kept your promise for over 30 years, he said softly. Ernest nodded. "I will until I can't walk anymore." Moved beyond words, Trump whispered, "I'd like to visit her resting place." The next afternoon, under tight security and away from cameras, Trump joined Ernest at a small cemetery just outside the city. A modest gravestone beneath a maple tree read, "Mariah Miller, let it shine so others may see the light. She loved stars," Ernest whispered. "Said even the smallest one could light up a whole sky." Trump knelt and placed his hand gently on the stone. "You gave her more than most fathers ever do." Back at the White House, Trump couldn't forget Ernest's story. During a cabinet meeting, he brought it up. "I met a janitor last night," he said. "Ernest Miller. He's worked here over 30 years. No retirement, no complaints. Just quiet, devotion to a promise he made his daughter." The room fell silent. He's what America is about, not politics, not power. Purpose. Trump turned to his chief of staff. "I want to do something for him. Something that means something." Later, that week, Trump called his design team with a vision. On a quiet Capitol floor, he had a bronze, star-shaped plaque installed. Polished daily, it read, "In honor of Mariah Miller, may this building forever shine with love and hope. Dedicated by her father, Ernest Miller, who kept his promise." He didn't tell Ernest. Instead, on a Friday night, Ernest's usual cleaning route was adjusted to pass by the new plaque. Just past midnight, Ernest turned the corner and froze. His mop slipped from his hands. He stepped forward and traced the plaque's edges with trembling fingers. Then he sank to his knees, tears streaming down his face. From a distance, Trump watched silently, eyes wet. He had never seen anything more powerful. A young staffer shared a photo of the plaque online, captioned, "Not all heroes wear suits. Some carry mops." The post went viral, but Ernest avoided the spotlight. Trump was asked for interviews. He declined. "This isn't my story," he said. "It belongs to the man who kept a promise." Letters started pouring in. One stood out. "Dear Mr. Miller, I lost my daughter last year. Your story gave me strength. Thank you for showing the world what real love looks like. A mother who understands." Inside was a hand-drawn star. Trump organized a small private ceremony in a quiet courtyard. No press, just a few staff. He presented Ernest with a new award, the Presidential Medal of Humanity, created for ordinary people who move the nation in extraordinary ways. "You served this nation in the purest form, by keeping your word," Trump said. "I didn't think anyone noticed," Ernest replied. Trump smiled. "Sometimes it takes 30 years, but we see you now." Weeks later, Trump invited Ernest to be his guest at the State of the Union. "I don't own a suit," Ernest said. "We'll take care of that." Trump laughed. That night, as Trump stood at the podium, he paused mid-speech and gestured to The balcony. There's a man here tonight who reminds us what real patriotism looks like. He never held office, never made a speech, but he kept America shining, both literally and metaphorically. Ernest stood slowly, placing a hand over his heart as the chamber erupted in applause. In the days that followed, Ernest received thousands of letters from teachers, truck drivers, janitors, and single parents. "I never knew my mop could touch so many lives," he whispered. Trump worked with Congress to establish the Mariah Miller Scholarship Fund, dedicated to underprivileged children with dreams of public service. Later, a publisher approached Ernest for a book. He agreed on one condition: all proceeds would go to the scholarship. The book, The Man Who Mopped with Purpose, became a national bestseller. Ernest visited a school where the students had read his story. One little girl raised her hand. "Mr. Miller, do you miss Mariah?" Ernest knelt beside her. "Every day, but now I see her in kids like you." One day, Trump received a handwritten note. "Dear Mr. President, I think it's time for me to hang up my mop. But don't worry, the building will still shine. It's in good hands now. With gratitude, Ernest." Ernest had retired. Years later, the star plaque still gleamed beneath the Capitol lights. Children on tours would stop and listen as guides told Mariah's story. And near a quiet hallway where few used to walk, a framed photo of Ernest Miller hung on the wall. Below it, a quote read, "Promises kept in silence echo louder than any speech." Trump, older now, often visited that spot. Every time he looked at the star on the wall, he remembered the janitor who had quietly changed his life, not with power, not with politics, but with love, honor, and a promise kept.